You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Friday night, laid back, feeling smooth. Looking for just a little something to get into. Tired of the same old scene.
Time for something different, if you know what I mean.
So when I saw you, there was no in between. You came up to me like something from out of my dreams. A woman from the pages of a magazine. Deep inside my heart, you scream. I can't understand. Hey, just wanna hold you. Hey, baby, how you do the things I'm watching you do. While we're in this club, just wanna make some love. All I wanna do, my girl, is dance with you. Now we're in this club, your cheek pressed to my face, trying not to lose control, but I ain't got no time to waste, cause I came up in the club,
Standing face to face with perfection.
and it would be about your love of my body.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that's on all the time, anytime. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for all content. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell. Bring your sports game with Big Nate Sports Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Haney, for that lovely introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 21, season 13. And this episode, we are recapping Maryland women's basketball. But before we get into that, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. If you look in the previous episode 20, there is a bit of a disconnect. My technical difficulties caused me to go out, so I do apologize for that. I tried to trim it on StreamYard, and it was not letting me happen. So you see it's about around the 26-minute mark, 23-minute mark. It's some technical difficulties that happen there, so I do apologize for that. There is some things I am going to clear up in this video regarding the attendance for the University of Maryland for the women's team, and then we're going to get into the recap. So a couple things. So before we start that, check out the previous video if you haven't already. Like I said, I will start the recording for the Washington Mystics episode. I'm actually after I finish recording that episode 20. I said to myself, I'll do it Saturday evening ish. So be on the lookout for that episode, and I'll probably get a head start on the NFL off season, and I'll try to have that out by the first two. I'll try to have the first 3 episodes. I'll try to have that out by Monday. I'll try that, but I try to have at least the first 3 divisions out by Monday, and so forth and so forth. But there's a couple of things I think that's interesting to point out. So it has been a hot topic to talk about in terms of their attendance. And I want to make this vehemently clear. In no way am I taking saying that they can't go on and then winning against Purdue last night, not celebrating with the team. I'm all for that. I want to see that. But there has been when you're a winning program, there's expectations, and sometimes there's criticism. Maryland has been around, I'd say their attendance for the last 10 years been top 10. When they defeated UConn and Michigan, I didn't see fan support. And it's, to me, when you are a top 10 team, and you have when Brenda Freese has to come out in the post game and say, "Come and support your team," and then when you got Brene Alexander, who definitely, and if I remember, I'll leave the link in the description, where I thought was right on the money with it. There's a disparity in attendance, and that's to me an issue. Like when you look at the men's teams, their attendance is doubled compared to women. But if you look at the success of both programs, the women have been more successful. That's not just including this season. I'm using the last 5 years. Like South Carolina, I by far has most fans attending their games. And I think when you look at the stats, I think only 36 men programs I think sit there, where at least 10,000 or more fans. And I think a lot of it comes for me. A lot of it comes. Our attendance is an issue, and I really do think that even though there are fans that do come to the games, like it's just it's a systematic and a complicated conversation, an issue that needs to be addressed. Like, unfortunately, we have to get to a point where it's deeply rooted. Misogyny, marketing, unfortunately, those things are an issue. Like, I can't tell you how many conversations with the WNBA like I have, and I feel like it's a conversation that needs to happen. Like, yes, I think it's like since the 07, 08, 09 season, they're going to have on pace to have more higher attendance. We've played South Carolina, UConn, Ohio State, Michigan. Yes, fans showed up, but I'm talking in terms of what I saw against Purdue for the men. I want to see that for the women too. Like, I was reading this article, and I understood it. I'm basically paraphrasing what was said in the article. And he basically, what the person said was they didn't even know what time the games occur. They basically said they promoted the South Carolina game, and after that was it. And I think that it's more, for me, it comes to, I don't think from a marketing standpoint, and more importantly, there has to be an exposure to not just college, but the same thing for the WNBA. We have to start breaking these barriers and really getting people to be exposed to women's basketball. I really just don't understand it. When you look at the game, it's Iowa. That thing was about, I think look at the box score after the game, it was like 10,000. And then they sold out against Indiana. The last time Maryland truly had a sellout game was back in 2016, and that was against UConn. Like, until they get to Ohio State. People showed up. I think it was like 12, maybe around 11,500. But when the players come out, especially the way Brene did, you kind of can feel that would bother me as a player, because it's like, where's that same energy? I just feel as though when we play Iowa, I just don't see I don't see it like that with Purdue. I want to see it packed to the brim like it was against Purdue, like it was against Illinois for the men. I want to see that. But I realistically, I know that's not going to happen, and I know, and I hope I'm proven wrong on that point. But like a lot of it also too comes from students. Like when you see they drop the flag drop, like like come on, man. I I'm gonna get off it because the more I say, the more I get frustrated, and I'm learning to there's a point where you have to keep your cool, but more importantly, you believe that you see some type of positivities. And for me, I'm really hoping that people come out and support the Maryland Terrapins, and that's our last home game of the season before they start the Big Ten tournament against Iowa, versus Iowa. It's our last home game, and I'm hoping that people really do come out and support. I just want to see their strumming of the court moment. That's all I'm saying. Maryland, a couple things that I want to point out that for me, this Maryland team has been interesting to watch this year. I'm proud of the work that they've put in. I see some growth. I do see at times bad habits that this team falls into. There are things that I would still like to see, but with 3 games, with going into this game against Michigan State tomorrow, there are some things that I already know that won't happen. I have been very keen on the freshmen getting opportunities, and I'm not backing from that. Mila Reynolds, Gia Cook, Bree McDaniel, Ava Scarola. Even we got Summer Bostic, but she's not going to start playing until next season. I think when you look at this Maryland team, after this year, Diamond is gone. We all know she'll be going to the WNBA. I don't know what Faith Masonius will do. Brene Alexander, Lavender Briggs have an extra COVID year, so I don't know what Lavender Briggs is going to do. Brene will probably, I hope she'll come back. Other than that, I really don't know next year for this team looks like. That's where I'm at with in terms of let's start developing, let's see what kind of role they'll play in for next year. And the only true growth you're seeing right now is Bree McDaniel, who I think, because most of you guys can find me on Twitter, did a Twitter space, and Cheyenne Sellers came on there, and she proclaimed that Bree was going to be probably the most feared two-way guard in the Big Ten next 2-3 years. And you're just seeing it, the energy that she brings coming off the bench, the little things she does, whether it's rebounding, whether it's defense. I'm proud of the growth that she is exorienting and the opportunities that she's given. I have asked Coach Freeze this question a couple times, and she said it comes down to the practices. That's where you're proven. That's where your worth is proven. Now, the others have gotten in there, but it's not enough. For me, just my opinion, I need to see them at least 8 to 12 minutes in there. I've said 10, 12. I'm going to say 8 to 12 minutes. I want to see how they're infuse them in the lineup in certain situations. I think putting them in there when the score is like 90, like 86-54. That's garbage time. What did it look like in a situation when a team is down 5 or when Abby Myers is in foul trouble? You know what I'm saying? I want to see those kind of scenarios develop for them because this is going to, I don't know what our team's going to look like next year. And that's something that needs to be thought upon. And when I look at the season so far, there's some things I've also have concerns about. And I want to talk about that in just a bit. But give Brenda Freeze her flowers. You know, again, as I said earlier in the previous video, this was a lot of people did not expect this Maryland team to be where they are currently. I thought those that left, that departed, you know, whether it was LSU, Virginia Tech, or NC State, or declaring for the WNBA draft, I really thought those were all surprising. And then a couple of injuries. Emma is out for the season. Allie Kobrick from Towson University, she's out for the year. Just things happen at the wrong time. But the Lavender Briggs working her back from injury. Brene Alexander, who to me, I think was a godsend for this team in terms of coming off the bench. I wish her role was expanded more, especially from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint. Coming from Vanderbilt, she sacrificed to be on a winning team. And at times I'm disappointed to see how she's being used at times. There are games where she's not touched the ball maybe 4 or 5 times. I think what's also I'm kind of just warming up to see to get you where I'm going with this. There have been times I question the ball movement could be a lot better. Because as much as I think coming from South Florida, Alyssa Penzin, when I look at the box score, actually, let me back up. Let me start it with this way. So, month of February, been interesting. You know, after a big win against Penn State, we came into that game, I believe it was on a 5-game win streak. And we were on the up and up. And knowing we had to face Caitlin Clark, it was going to not an easy task. To me, the biggest thing was you can't have a slow start. You have to take away something offensively from Iowa. And painfully, we lost that game 96-82 on the road. Caitlin Clark killed us. I mean, she had 42 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Cheyenne Sellers and Diamond Miller were the combined for 53 points and 12 rebounds. I thought what was telling in that game was our slow start. Even though going into that game, we were 9-2. When you beat Baylor and Notre Dame, they were on a 6-game win streak, if I remember that correctly. You're not going to win many basketball games when you have a slow start where you're 7 of 24 from the field, and the threes that you did take, you weren't any better.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
And for me, when I watched them before going into the half, they really, really were just disappointing. I mean, they were down, I think this going into halftime was 56-38, if I'm not mistaken, 7% that correctly. And their offense, at times, the ball movement was just disappointing. But the second half, I have to give them props. they turned it around. They finished that they were down 10 going into the third quarter. Maryland, I think, was up, had 4 more points. It was like 22-18 in that period in the third quarter where you saw the momentum going for them. I think you can't have slow starts like that. And then also too defensively, I thought we did a horrendous job. And I'm being honest on Caitlin Clark. From jump, there was she had a crossover, shot a three. I mean, it wasn't just the shooting, her passing. You had to take something away from her, whether it was passing the ball or shooting. And even in those moments, our transition defense, there were times where we're not getting back on defense. I mean, they killed us in the transition game. I mean, what I wanted to see somebody that, whether I don't know whether it didn't matter if it was Lavender Briggs or Brittany Alexander, Cheyenne Sellers, no matter who they put on Caitlin Clark, she found ways to create separation and get her shots. Defensive and defense and those type of things, that's not going to win you games. And Shy said it in the post. Shy and Sellers said in the post game, there was a lot of miscommunication because she will go off on most nights like that. And then again, I have preached this, and you're going to hear me say it again as I'm giving you context up until Michigan State. Diamond Miller, Cheyenne Sellers, and Abby Myers were the only 3 Maryland Terrapins in that game that were double figures. Let that sink in. When I look for and I've said this on the articles that I've written for MarylandSportsBlog.com. The key is the others around Diamond. Diamond can take this team as far as she can take it. But when you have nights like this, it would be nice to have all hands on deck. Lavender Briggs, love her. I know she's going to work on her confidence back from her injury and come up in that game. But in the 12 minutes that she got, only had 2 points. There were times where I was lost on what she was trying to do. Brene Alexander, again, I've given her praise, her flowers. Like, it was just, I felt like at times the shot that some of the forcing her to take bad shots, I thought was key, and not helping getting easy looks. But I need all hands on deck come the Big Ten tournament in March, because can't have performances like this. That's one. Now, they rebounded against Ohio State, facing former Maryland Terrapin Taylor Mikesell and the Ohio State Buckeyes. I thought the key was their defense. Beating Ohio State, to me, was probably the biggest win for the program. The final score was 90-54, if I remember correctly, and it was the largest win over a top 10 ranked opponent. For me, the key was the defense. Transition defense, to me, is always going to be key for any team. It was. I thought it was very interesting to see that, particularly in the second quarter, Ohio State's full court press defense was giving us trouble. And there was times where we did force some turnovers in the front court. And Ohio State took advantage. I think we turned the ball over 10 times in that first half. If I'm saying that correctly. And Coach Reese has also preached this throughout the season so far as long as I've been covering the team. So with the season is we got to value the basketball. I've also noticed this too. When we turn the ball over at least 12 times or less, that plays a role in our victories. And again, like I thought you're at home, you're rebounding after a tough loss. I felt like it was a reset, especially on the little things, whether it's getting back on defense, whether it's making shots. Everybody did their thing. Diamond Miller had 29, was the leading scorer in that with 29 points. I don't think first and foremost, they should not have gotten, I think she got a tech. Well, no, almost. They should not have gotten one, but that's a whole nother subject for another video. There was, for me, Ohio State going into this game, that game against Maryland, they had lost 4 of the last 5. And before the ranking, we're still a top team. There were points at the point of the game where they were down 20. And it's interesting to see how they'll look come the Big Ten tournament in March. Now, this is where things get interesting because there was we have a 3 games in 7 days. And we were ready against Northwestern. And Northwestern it's a rebuilding program. Same thing. This is where I loved leadership. This is where Diamond Miller, I think, is proving her worth as a top 4 pick in this upcoming WNBA draft. We did absolutely horrendous in the first quarter, especially where we got punched in the face. There seemed like there was more of an urgency. Diamond led the charge. The ball movement was better, particularly in the second quarter. The Wildcats were 0-13. And then the first points was like almost in the halftime. And this is where, and that game also too was you see what Bree McDaniel can give you. She had a season high 14 points, 4-6 from the field. I think that what's been interesting to watch her is that she's learning from Abby, Shy, Diamond, Brene. You just see effort. And to me, even at one point, we were up 17 points. Bree not being afraid to lead the team. There was a point where she let a transition possession. And, hey, look, she's making the most of her minutes where she's given. I mean, she's active in the passing lanes. She's a great defender, hustling for the ball. I see the potential there. And I see the same thing with Gia Cook and Mila Reynolds and Ava. I see the potential there. I just wish they'd get more opportunities than what they've gotten so far. But there really wasn't to take much from the Northwestern game other than, it's a conference opponent. You should still take them seriously. Diamond finished the game with 18 points, 9 rebounds, and some change. I think that's like 7 assists, if I'm saying that correctly. And then came Illinois, which was last week, Senior Day. I don't like Senior Day for me because it's like the changing of the guard. Because I don't know what's going to happen, particularly with Faith Masonius. I know she has a COVID year. She can use that. Alyssa and Abby are seniors, so they're gone. And then obviously Diamond is obviously going to most likely declare for the draft. We defeated Illinois 82-71. I really was disappointed in a couple things. And I'm going to pull up the box score for you really quick, just to really show you what comes to my mind. So, Diamond Miller finished the game. She was leading scorer with 31 points. Okay. Addie Myers, Cheyenne Sellers. Obviously, now we know who the first, second, and third options are. So, no problem with that, double figures. When I look at the rest of the team, Faith Masonius was 3 of 6, had 6 points. Alyssa Penzin had a donut next to her name. Bree McDaniel finished with 8 points. Lavender Briggs finished with 6 points. Brene Alexander only took 2 shots, 0 points. And then Ava, Gia, and Mila played less than 5 minutes. So a couple things that's a concern for me. There's bad habits were shown in this game. I felt at times there was hero ball. As much as I love Diamond, can't do it by yourself. I really thought for me, it's I'm gonna go back to this box score because we left a lot of threes out there. Diamond shot 12 or 23 from the field. We were 0 of 17 from 3. That is absolutely disgusting.
I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. This is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's embarrassing. And I'm ticked off. It don't make any sense. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And something needs to be done about it. Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
And I'm not being funny when I say that. We literally were 0 of 17 from 3. I mean, that's something that's going to hurt us. When you look at the ball movement, it has got to be better than what it is. Like Alyssa Penzin, I know what she's capable of. She's capable of being a great player, but there's no way in hell my point guard should have a donut next to their name. I'm not being funny when I say that. There are games where there are box scores throughout the season so far where there are donuts next to her name. You've got to figure out how to get easy shots for her, for Faith, for Abby. Like, listen, Abby Myers, one thing I'll give her credit on is same shot, nothing's going to change. It goes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But she is not afraid to still go out there and shoot the ball. But, like, 17 threes as a cohesive unit we missed, that's not, I can't, even though we won the game, I can't celebrate that. I really can't. I think I'm being fair when I say that, but I'm being honest. And also to take into consideration, Genesis Bryan didn't play in that game. That's point number one. But what I was just puzzled with some of the shot selection. And then it makes me ponder, well, is there something that maybe I'm seeing something differently. And then it horns back on, okay, well, what's happening here? Like, not only did we do a, and again, I think I feel like I'm being fair because they didn't do a good job defending the three. Like Illinois, they they had 8 threes in the first half, and this is we somehow put 82 points on the board despite that type of a performance. I
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I'm sorry. Listen, I think what was key was the turnovers Illinois committed. Like the second half, Maryland played a lot better. I think being at home, it gave us a lot of energy because the first half was just very it looked lackadaisical at times. I didn't even know what I was looking at in the first half, and then in the second half, on both sides of the ball, it looks beautiful. Again, didn't have Genesis Bryant, so that puts the others up for them to step up. And the first 20 minutes, you can't have slow starts like that. You cannot. You really, really can't. And again, listen, when it mattered, they're more aggressive. Maryland, my point is that Maryland fell right back into bad habits on both sides of the ball. Like, you can't force shots and still be an undisciplined team. That won't win you games. That's not going to win games in the Big Ten tournament. That's not going to win games in March Madness. I mean, they scored 80 points without making a three. That's great. 56 points in the paint. Great statistic. But it's the bad habits. If you look at some of those shots, you can get Renee Alexander a shot. You can get Lavender Briggs a shot. You can get Alyssa Penzin, Faith. You can get them shots. The ball movement has to be better. And we have to be smarter with our shots. That's fair. But I'm being also fair and also saying this. It was senior day. As I said earlier, it's just like a changing of the guard. They're all honored before the game. Faith, who tore her ACL last year, I asked her a question in the pregame. So the first thing that comes to mind is perseverance, and that's something she says she's just persevered, with friends and family and just keeping them motivated. Same thing. I have to give Diamond Miller her flowers. Because I was concerned too. Was she going to leave? And also her dealing with an injury. So, to see where these group, what those two have done for Maryland has just been spectacular. Abby Myers, I didn't even know this until a couple weeks ago. Abby Myers is from Maryland. Because she spent 3 years at Princeton. It's just great. Faith. I mean, Alyssa Penzin is a great guard, and I think for me, from a defensive standpoint, she's brings intensity, energy. I just would like to just see her just get involved more in the offense. But no matter what however it was, those four have contributed to the success for Maryland. Faith, Alyssa, Abby, Renee, Diamond, all reached 1,000 points this year. So big ups to them on a successful year so far. And as we prepare for Michigan State, before we get the preview, I also talked about it in Wednesday's video, sending my thoughts and prayers to Michigan State, the Spartans family. As we all know what occurred, the shooting that happened on campus. I will continue to stress this. I think it's very, very important that we continue to hold our politicians accountable to start holding them to create laws and hold those accountable in creating change. And it's your civic duty to make sure you're registered to vote, study your candidates, say the issues, and remind them that we don't work for them; they work for us, the people. I was actually very surprised. Now, Michigan State was supposed to actually play Purdue, the women, and that didn't happen. So that game will be postponed at a later date. I was actually surprised they were going to play this weekend. I felt like it was just a little too soon to play this game, in my opinion. We're on the road. The last time we saw Michigan State was on the 7th of January, and we beat them 94-85. That is the highest amount of points we scored this year. The first half was interesting. We had a 1-point lead in the first quarter, and then we went into the halftime tied 80 points combined, 40 apiece. The third quarter in that game was key. We outscored the Spartans. It was like 30-11. I thought what was key, we had 20 more fast break points, if I remember that stat correctly. We just dominated in transition. We had 23 points off their turnovers. I think what's a couple things you got to take into consideration. Michigan State, yes, they're in the middle of the road. They're middle of the pack team, but they've played some ranked opponents well. They surprised Indiana. They took Iowa in overtime, even though they lost. I remember seeing the stat correctly. They're actually, other than those two, 5 of their matchups have been decided by 10 points or less. So it's interesting to see how Maryland will come out. Maryland cannot afford to have a slow start. Let's get that out the way. It would also, too, it's going to be interesting to see how, especially coming off a bye week, which I think is needed. Coach Reese talked about that in the post game, in the pregame. Hopefully, this will get everybody ready to go. I'm hoping to see this Turpin team continue its success. We've got 3 games left. Now, because of a couple things that happened, Maryland has a double bye week in the Big Ten tournament. As of now, we have 2 more wins than Michigan and Ohio State. And looking to get revenge against Caitlin Clark and finishing the other 2 games as well that are on the schedule. The biggest thing is we just have to finish strong. I know what this team is capable of doing because with Michigan State, Iowa, and then Ohio State. And we're going to be on the road that game against Ohio State. So I know they're going to be looking for some payback. We just got to finish. You just have to finish strong. That's the key. Finish on a high note. It's going to be interesting to see how they look in the Big Ten. But before this Michigan State game, they were like the 3rd seed in the, I forgot what region it was for March Madness. I want to say it was the Greenville region with South Carolina and LSU. Oh, that's going to be a bloodbath. And I think what will happen is just like last year, they'll get the first 2 games at home, and then they'll take it from there. But I am not looking forward to that. It's going to be a really, really, it's going to be bad. Actually, let's take a look really quick at the bracket, at the tournament schedule, because as of right now, everything looks to be set in stone. So we have Greenville, where are you at? So how it would look as of right now, Maryland is a number 2 seed, and we'd face Albany. And then the winner of Middle Tennessee and Creighton will play them. And then we have to play Drexel, Notre Dame, Georgia, or Arizona. That should be interesting. But the Greenville region it's going to be interesting because when I look at it really quick, Morgan State, that Morgan State and Sacred Heart, that's going to be an interesting 2 games to look at. That game right there, those are 2. Those are my Morgan State's my sleeper to upset Sacred Heart. USC, Oklahoma State, UCLA, and University of Massachusetts, Oklahoma and Green Bay. Long Beach State, I believe, will upset Colorado. I might sound crazy for that, but I think it can happen. When I look at the rest of the seeding, Maryland can get to the Elite Eight easily. I think the way everything is, I kind of see Maryland getting, if not the Sweet 16 easily. I think Drexel will probably surprise a lot. I think will surprise some people than most think. But South Carolina, I think, has the easiest road to the Final Four. Because I'm looking at, I think it's going to be Stanford again. It's going to be South Carolina. For right now, those are my 2 teams. UConn actually has an interesting road ahead of them. But we'll talk about that at a later date. But if it ended right now, Maryland is the number 2 seed, and for the first Greenville region, and Morgan State, don't sleep on them because you still got some teams that are still in the bubble. Mississippi State, I'm hoping could still get in there. Oregon, Washington State, Purdue, I think the last 4 buys. And then I think they predicted Nebraska, West Virginia, Syracuse, St. John, like the first 4 out. And then Kansas State, Missouri, Rhode Island, Toledo, and something else like that. So it's going to be interesting. So the Big Ten is definitely represented. The ACC and the Pac-12 and the SEC, well, I'm surprised we're all balanced. I actually had 10 ACC teams going there, but I think the current up-to-date bracket is accurate. That I think will go in the March Madness will be interesting to see. So let's transition into really quick. I want to get to our sponsored message. Do you want to dress like you're already famous? Take a listen to Zagnif Apparel LCC.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can enjoy a nice 15% off using my code BIGNATE. Please hop over to ZagnifDesignsApparel.com for your apparel so you can dress like you're famous. Thank you to our sponsor for Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, Zagnif Apparel LCC. Appreciate you being the sponsor for the podcast. As we get ready for our final message, let's transition into that final message.
Incoming message.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
So, as I'm kind of getting ready to transition to season 14, there's some things that happened and I didn't think would happen. This has been fun with Maryland women's basketball. I wish I would have been more consistent with making videos for the season, but just being able to write for them and given the opportunity to write for them has been fun. I just see great things happening. I'm still waiting on the Big Ten credentials. I guess I'll have an answer by the 25th, 26th. I'm crossing my fingers for that because it's going to be I think it's just 3 days of just straight basketball, and that's going to be interesting to see. And then get ready for March. I'm just so stoked. I really do appreciate the opportunities I've been given because I've had a lot of critics, especially with the WNBA. I've said this many times. I can't tell you where people have said, please stop talking about that. We don't care. I've had people say, well, now you're going to be doing writing and different things. How can you manage the time? And it has been easy, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity. I've gotten a lot of great support. I do appreciate the support that I've been getting. But I did make it a goal for this year. If you watch my year review of last year, the focus this year was Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I felt like when I look at the previous season, I was highly disappointed in myself because I did not give Big Nate Sports Talk the time and effort that it needed. And this year, I just putting more focus onto the podcast and just continue to build what this brand can be, because I see a lot of great things for this channel. And it's going to be good days and going to be bad days with the channel. And but you have to, I'm learning to make the most of the opportunities that I'm given. And that's just my message. It's just take the opportunities that you're given. And again, there's a lot of people that think I've given them their flowers in many videos. And without their support and without their confidence, I don't know where I would be. I don't know where this YouTube channel would be. Because when I started making videos, I think we were like 25 subscribers. Now we're at 270. I just see it growing, and to be able, the ability to be more, getting more out there with more college basketball. Now we're getting transition in baseball. WNBA is coming up. Getting ready for the NFL draft, the WNBA draft, free agency for the NFL. There's a lot of great content to be made, and I can't wait. Like I said, season 13 is not officially over yet, but I just see a lot of great things happening for this podcast, and I cannot do enough without your support. So it is greatly appreciated. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm actually going to conclude this episode because I've talked long enough. Be tuned for future episodes. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please check out the previous videos if you're not already. I'll have the other videos up as soon as tomorrow evening. I'll have the rest of season 12, 13, and we will be caught up on Spotify via Anchor and Apple Podcasts. You'll be up to date with all current episodes. But until then, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side. Y'all have a good night. Stay out.
But they don't know, they don't know, they don't know. Nobody knows.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bring your sports game on Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you, yeah. I wanna thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I wanna thank you. And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you for everything.